And there it is. I was right once again. I'm on an absolute hot streak at this point. Who would have honestly thought that being amazing at finance and business finance would have been such a huge boon in gaming? Well, okay, to be completely fair, I was right only like 70% this time, okay? Slightly wrong. I said a year ago that some kind of DLC is gonna happen with CDPR because it must happen. It just doesn't make sense that there's too much of opening there. Something needs to be fitted in, and that has to be a DLC. I was right about that, but I was wrong about which DLC. Cyberpunk 2077, after the success of the newest DLC, I thought it's a shoo-in that they're gonna make that. But turns out, no. Turns out CDPR thinks that The Witcher still has fight left in it. And I honestly kind of agree with that. So, this The Witcher 3 getting another DLC is pretty much almost guaranteed at this point. Now, granted, we do have to talk about the fact that it's still CDPR, one of the most sadly politically corrupt woke companies that currently exist, with a CEO that was caught blatantly lying about the circumstances of his company. And no, this is not the Cyberpunk 2077 launch lies. This is newer lies. It's about the quality of the company and whatnot. They got a Vulcan Award. They're making they're making offices and new branches in the worst parts of America and Canada. Like the whole of CDPR, fans who are paying attention to what's happening, most fans are absolutely, I mean, just gripping themselves because no one, no one is sure that this is going to end well. Because chances are that this is not going to end well.
Right now, CD Projekt Red has at least 4 secret projects on the way. Thanks to leaks, we just found out at least one of these is a totally new Cyberpunk 2077 update and even
Yeah, I mean, that does not look good, huh?
possibly a DLC to go along with that. But yesterday, another leak did drop claiming that one of these unannounced projects is a new DLC for The Witcher 3. And what makes this leak so interesting is the source. As this is being claimed by both Rock and Boris on their podcast, these two being very well known and very reputable Polish podcasters that just seem to have a deeper connection with CDPR. They've just known about stuff in the past. They were talking about Ciri as the next Witcher game protagonist well before everyone else was, and they were even some of the first to start.
Well, to be honest, the Ciri thing was kind of to be expected because if Geralt of Rivia is gonna be pushed to the side, well, who else is really left there?
Talking about potential issues with Cyberpunk 2077 on consoles. That's to say that these are far from random people, so when they're leaking something like this, putting their reputation on the line, it's definitely worth listening to.
Oh, wow.
So what did they actually say yesterday?
Tajemniczym projektem CD Projekt Red, robionym przez Fool's Theory, jest fabularne DLC do Wiedźmina III. I to jest informacja potwierdzona w kilku niezależnych źródłach.
So a secret new story DLC for The Witcher 3 being made by Fool's Theory. If you're not aware, Fool's Theory
And confirmed by multiple independent sources if you did not read the captions.
is made up of a ton of former Witcher devs. They were already working on a Witcher 1 remake. We've known about that one for
So this is good news because again, CDPR at this point is most likely a 100% shadow of its former self because we have like what 5 different studios that have been created from unhappy remnants of CDPR. Yeah, it's not really great. And again, the fact that the CEO feels the need to lie about this situation, saying, oh no, all the people who made the games that you liked are still here, which is provably false by the ending credits lists in games and things that are accessible to the people. Oh, it's not looking good.
a while now, but earlier this year, out of nowhere, CDPR also announced they have another unannounced project in the works at Fool's Theory that's in collaboration with CDPR. And seemingly, assuming this leak is true, this is going to be a new DLC for The Witcher 3 after 10 years. And during this podcast,
And by the way, you know what's the best part? Considering this is not an in-house development, the Cyberpunk DLC can still happen. I think we do probably have time for 2 DLCs because that's the thing. If we get, for example, a Witcher DLC next year, and after that we can easily get another Cyberpunk one because after that there's gonna be another Witcher one. So you need to look at this in a couple of ways for it to make sense. I'm gonna share a screen. Okay, 1 second. Okay, sharing a screen, I'm gonna explain something to you because this is one easy way to understand what's happening, okay? So, these are development lines, okay? This is time, okay? This is time. This axis is time. And in this time, things are gonna get released. There's gonna be a release here. 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 And there's gonna be a release here. And currently, we are starting right here. This is our current position, and our current position is the aftermath of Cyberpunk 2077 DLC. That's right, Liberty City or whatever the name was. That. Okay, we are here. And after, like 5 years, you know what we're getting? We're getting of The Witcher, the Witcher 4. Yes, that's right. After all this time, we are getting The Witcher 4 here and here. So the thing here is that this is like a 5-year gap, and we need something to fill it. Best case scenario, this is not a 5-year gap, this is a 3-year gap. Best super best scenario, which seems impossible. So obviously, we have time for an expansion somewhere. We can make an expansion here, or expansion here. And Cyberpunk 2077 DLC seemed like the most likely. But here is what you need to understand. People don't want to release, like, for example, Cyberpunk here, Cyberpunk here, Cyberpunk here, and then there's The Witcher here, okay? No. That's not what people want to do. People want to release Cyberpunk here, The Witcher here, Cyberpunk here again, and The Witcher here again. That's how these companies want to do things. So after the Cyberpunk DLC, unless the time span between is like, I don't know, this much, and that's like 2 years, they're not going to release another DLC. They're going to want to release a Witcher DLC. And then they're going to want to release another Cyberpunk DLC, because that makes it so that next big hit is going to be The Witcher 4. That's how they want to do these things. They don't want to oversaturate it with one thing constantly, okay? That's how they want to do these things. So, we can easily now get a Witcher DLC, and then we can get a follow-up with a Cyberpunk DLC right here. And this seems very possible because that would just naturally allow them to release after that The Witcher 4, which would be their big thing. And after that, most likely, Cyberpunk 2, which we don't exactly know what it's going to be called. But this is this looks like a very real possibility that they're going to plan it like this.
Which I will have linked down below, but of course, it's all in Polish. Boris and Rock do continue on to share several more details about this supposed DLC. They're very clear about what they do and don't know. They've known about this secret Fool's Theory DLC for a while, but describe how they just didn't believe it at first, and as such have had several independent sources confirm that yes, this project is very real. They even remark that they're surprised it hasn't leaked online already. They describe how it would be coming in 2026 at the earliest, so 2026 or later for a release date, but they do make it abundantly clear that the release information is just from one source, so that date is a lot less locked down compared to the fact that this DLC is real, but they do confirm that right now the targeted release order is console mod support first for The Witcher 3, we know this is coming at some point in 2025, The Witcher 3's new DLC from Fool's Theory, which of course is leaked here, but then The Witcher 4 and then followed up by The Witcher 1 remake a fair ways down the line, and yeah, that all just kind of lines up with some of the public...
Oh, so disgusting.
available information. But something they don't know, and they make this abundantly clear during the podcast, is what type of content this will actually end up being. CDPR makes a very clear differentiation between free DLC and paid expansions. They just don't call expansions DLC. And in this podcast, they don't really seem to know what this particular DLC for The Witcher 3 will be. They mention not knowing if it's paid or free content, as well as they don't exactly know the scale of the DLC. But they personally speculate this could be several new quests connecting Ciri's story in The Witcher 3 to her new story in The Witcher 4, almost like an epilogue for that character in The Witcher 3, which I personally think could be really cool.
Oh, that sounds bad. Because, again, Ciri becoming the new star of the show, okay. But Ciri becoming a Witcher and giving up her literal fucking space elf Jesus abilities is kinda stupid. And everyone knows it.
But should we even believe this? Like, yeah, sure, they're two podcasters with a name and a big channel, but is there anything more here? Well, I gotta admit, I am pretty convinced, and I was almost instantly. I've been covering a ton of the recent CDPR leaks and rumors as of late, and last week, towards the end of one of my videos, I made a pretty out there prediction. Fool's Theory is a studio.
God, again, this is so funny when I look
Towards
at it.
the end of one of my videos, I made.
Okay, listen. Witcher from birth, well, pretty much from birth. Best I can do is slightly Sparks, less than Jubilee from the X-Man. While Ciri now is literally the Avatar, master of four elements.
Made a pretty out there prediction. Fool's Theory is a studio consisting of former Witcher devs, and they're currently remaking The Witcher 1 in Unreal Engine 5. We know about that game, but now there's a second one. Could it possibly be a Cyberpunk expansion? So yeah, it seems like I was almost saying the same thing, I just got the game wrong. And the reason I said that a week ago, and the reason I believe this leak so heavily, is The Witcher 3 getting another expansion or DLC now just fits in so incredibly well with a bunch of the other quotes or claims that CDPR has been making for the past few months. It really feels like we just got that missing piece to this puzzle. The reason I speculated Fool's Theory would do a Cyberpunk 2077 expansion in the first place was this quote from CDPR. It's from an earnings call from last year, where they mentioned that the success of their business is based off the longevity of our products, including releases of new content, and very notably how some of these releases might be surprising. It was that surprising quote that really made me wonder if something bigger could be coming, because yeah, a new DLC for Cyberpunk, as I was guessing, or in reality for The Witcher 3, would be absolutely shocking. It's been 10 years, none of us are expecting anything like this. And if they were to do this, CDPR is incredibly busy. During their previous earnings call, we saw an employee breakdown. It's not like anyone's available to work on a DLC for Cyberpunk or The Witcher.
Not really that hard if you're outsourcing.
But the other major studio that already knows how to make Red Engine is Fool's Theory, because it's made up of former Witcher devs who have worked with this engine before. And earlier today, CDPR even commented on this rumor, telling benchmark.pl, "We do not comment on rumors or speculation," which of course is neither a confirmation nor a denial. It honestly means nothing, but I will selectively choose to focus on the non-denial part. They didn't say it's not true. So why do I think this is real? And is it just a free DLC, or should you be expecting a proper paid expansion? Because I actually have a fairly strong feeling here. So first off, I just think a new Witcher 3 DLC pretty closely aligns with what CDPR has been saying. What kicked off a ton of the recent speculation by the community that something new would be coming from this company was not only some of their own teases during streams, but also this chart. CDPR's executives have an incentive program, and this chart shows their current progress, or at least as of the time of this earnings call. If they could hit a certain profit target in a 3-year period, the executives will get a bonus. And in November of last year, CDPR approved
I love the fact that it's the executives who'll get a bonus.
A new incentive plan. The executives offered the deal that if from 2025 to 2028 they make 4 billion zloty in profit, then they'd hit their incentive and likely get an even larger payout or even more shares as a result. And to be clear on the situation, they're setting the target, and of course it has to get approved, but what turned so many heads was just how high of a target this was. From 2023 to 2026, they only expected to do half of that with 2 billion zloty, and that 4 billion zloty number even came above analysts' expectations who were predicting 3 billion zloty of profit. So how's CDPR going to make that money? And even further, they mention how this 2023 to 2026 profit target still has a chance of hitting.
Where we are in terms.
By the way, this needs a higher breakdown because this is kind of questionable because, okay, so this is 23, 26. This is 24, 27. That involves these years in it. And this is 25, 28. Yeah, I need a little bit more explanation what the hell they're exactly thinking here. How this actually works. Because the way that they're structuring this makes me think that these two are relevant, that only this number right here matters at the end until 2025.
23 to 2026 profit target still has a chance of hitting.
And we are currently in 2025.
Where we are in terms of achieving the goals of our share-based incentive programs. The goal for the first financial years of 2023 till 2024 was set at 2 billion zloty of our accumulated net profit. After 2 full years, we've delivered 951 million zloty, which accounts for 48% of the target. Even though we do not plan to release The Witcher 4 by the end of 2026, we are still driven by this financial goal, and although it's very ambitious, we stand a chance of achieving it within
The Witcher's gonna get pushed back. There's no way it comes out.
given time frame.
That quote right there led to a ton of us going wild with speculation. What CDPR is saying is that even though our next big game, The Witcher 4, won't be out in this time period like some people were expecting, and even despite the fact that more than half of the period has gone by, it's over 50% complete, but CDPR has made less than 50% of the profit. Technically they're slightly behind right now. They still somehow think they might make enough profit in the end to hit this goal. And mind you, this period is 2023 to 2026. 2023 includes Phantom Liberty, so CDPR has to make money faster than they did with Phantom Liberty. How could they possibly do that? The Switch 2 port of Cyberpunk 2077 will absolutely be a help here. That's a huge marketing campaign. It seems like it's doing very well. But you could also drop a new paid expansion for this game that just crossed 60 million copies sold. And yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. And to be clear, this is my own personal speculation based off this. It definitely could just be a smaller free DLC, but I honestly think it could end up being a larger paid expansion. Probably not on the scale of Phantom Liberty, not quite that big, but still bigger than a free DLC. Partly because it just makes the profit incentive make way more sense, but also the dev time. CDPR revealed they had an unannounced project from Fool's Theory in March of this year. It could have been in development even a bit before that, and if this isn't coming out until 2026 at the earliest, assuming that original leak is true, that is only a year of dev time. A lot of CDPR's free DLCs are like 1 or 2 free quests. Let's even say they do this one a little bit larger and do 4 or 5 free quests. Does a year or potentially even more than a year of dev time seem appropriate for that, especially for a standalone studio? To me, it just makes way more sense that CDPR would be hiring a bunch of former Witcher devs to make a new expansion for The Witcher 3, some type of paid content, because it sounds like this will have considerable investment behind it. I mean, technically it could just be an incredibly small team or something, but at least in my brain, the puzzle piece that makes the most sense is something that costs money. But overall, well, yeah, I'm speculating it could be something larger and paid. At the very least, I do think there is serious evidence that we are getting another DLC of some kind. Whether it be free or paid, I take this leak to have a lot of merit behind it, and I think it makes a
There's no way it's free DLC. At least we can all agree on that, right?
lot of sense with some of these other things we've seen posted. But of course, the other major implication is, what about Cyberpunk 2077? One of the really big considerations here is, why is all of this happening? I personally think it's very likely due to CDPR's new CEOs. These two stepped up in 2024 and are the ones who designed this strategy update to utilize their IPs more with this franchise flywheel. Clearly, they believe in investing more into their games and really the longevity of their games. They're the reason we're getting more Witcher and Cyberpunk updates right now. Remember how last week this Cyberpunk 2077 DLC popped up on somebody's LinkedIn working with Virtuous? One of the things I speculated at the time was, what if this wasn't actually a free DLC? What if this person at a third-party company was just using the typical naming that every other company does, but it was actually an expansion? It was a paid expansion for Cyberpunk 2077, and part of what made this make a little bit more sense to me was the timing. If this was for the June update, him starting working at Virtuous in April seems like an incredibly tight turnaround. Honestly, on this front, I'm really not that sure. It could just be multiple new updates for Cyberpunk 2077 also, and maybe one of them includes some free DLC. But hey, if you're making a new expansion or DLC for The Witcher 3 over 10 years after launch, I think it makes a lot of sense to do the same exact thing for Cyberpunk 2077.
Money is money. If The Witcher 3, people still like The Witcher 3. It doesn't matter if it's 10 years old. God damn, make an expansion for Diablo 2, I'm buying it. That's just how simple things are, honestly. If it's good, make an expansion, people will buy it. Easy. Anyway, that was Juicehead. Bye.